Rise and grind, guys. My name is Tetsyumi, and welcome back to another Disgaea RPG Should You Summon. And today, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new collab characters, Priere, Croix, and also a little bit of Alouette. I say a little bit because Alouette is actually a character, the free character, that is going to be coming with this event. So I'm not going to go too far into detail with looking at her, but we are going to look at her a little bit regardless. And back to what I said before, yeah, we are getting back-to-back collabs. We just had the ReZero collab, and now we are straight into the Pucelle Collab, which is, I won't lie, a little bit dirty from the devs, but you know, we'll let it slide. And I actually had no idea what Pucelle is. I figured they were just kind of another, you know, Disgaea IP that were just kind of coming into Disgaea. But no, apparently these guys are actually from their own unique game that was developed by the same people that developed Disgaea. So it makes sense. That's kind of why they look so familiar. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. I want to keep this video relatively quick, so let's go ahead and start talking about our main girl, Priere. So, Priere is a humanoid Axe Forte Rook ally. Her stats are honestly looking pretty good. Her HP is pretty high, sitting at a cool 130. Her attack is also pretty high at 45. Her defense is not super high, but also not low. It's at 39, which is pretty good. Her intelligence and resistance are both kind of low, which makes sense because her stats are pretty much going to be all based off the attack stat. And her speed is at 52, which is not really high, but not super low. It's just kind of average, so not bad. For her attributes, she has 25% towards fire and 25% towards wind. Her resistances are all 50. What did I just click on? 5%? Why did I just look up 5%? Okay, well, her resistances are all 50 across the board. Going on to her abilities, at her leader skill, we get Holy Iron Fist. All damage done by party humanoid characters is plus 14%. At any plus 1, we get Holy Baton. Damage dealt by special move when you are equipped with an axe weapon is plus 60%. At any plus 5, we get Restrained Rampage. At the end of the turn, your action gauge will be plus 200. And then at any plus 7, we get Violent Temper. The more HP you have, the more attack and defense will increase, maximum to 45%. Now, I'm going to be honest, her abilities are all really good. The only one that's like a little bit iffy is just her leader skill, and that's only because it's affecting humanoid characters instead of like all characters in your party. But even still, if you can just get to any plus 1, damage dealt by special moves, but if you're equipped with an axe, plus 60%, that is really, really good because for the most part, I would assume everyone is going to have her equipped with an axe weapon because axe is by far her forte. And, you know, you're probably going to be doing her skills because she has a few really good skills down here. So just you doing 60% more damage for free, basically, if you just get her to any plus 1 is insane. And speaking of skills, moving on, at level 1, we get Heartbreak Pierce, which is a really good single target attack that also debuffs the enemy. So it debuffs the enemy by attack and defense by 50% for 2 turns, which is really good. And the reason it is 2 turns is because of this right here, Repeat Prohibited Technique, which basically means you can't just spam this ability. You have to wait 1 turn before you do it. You can hit it, then you have to wait a turn, then you can hit it again. You can't just keep spamming it. But because it's 2 turns, that's still pretty good, especially for boss fights. You can't really affect this on everyone at the enemy team, you know, super well because obviously it is Repeat Prohibited Technique. But if you're just trying to, you know, do like a raid or a boss, this is going to be a really, really helpful skill. Sorry about that cut. I hope you guys didn't hear that. I think a plane just flew over my dorm. But anyway, moving on, her level 200 skill is Sky High Caliber. This is a really good AoE skill and also boosting herself a little bit. So she's going to be giving herself attack boost by the number of enemy characters defeated by the technique by 5%. So basically, if you defeat like 3 enemies by using this AoE attack, you're going to be getting a 15% attack boost. I don't know how long this boost is going to last, but even still, this is really going to be helpful, especially if you combine this, you know, with your single target. Maybe you do some wave clear in the beginning, get yourself some good attack boost, and then you go in for another big single target hit, or even with this next one we're going to talk about, and then also just lower the attack and defense of the boss by a little bit. That is going to be insane. And then moving on to any plus 3, we get Foret Declared the Curbcle. I don't know, bro. But this is, again, just a single target attack and also boosting herself again. This time, she's giving herself an attack plus 30%. She's also canceling any enemy buffs on her. And then there's this weird, like, power thing that I have no idea what it is. But basically, she's just giving herself more of an attack boost and also canceling any debuffs, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, actually, sorry, I got that wrong. She's canceling any buffs that the enemy put on herself. So far, from just her skills, she is looking like a really, really strong, you know, raid or just boss destroying unit. And moving on to magic spells, I'm going to go ahead and speed through this section. At Mastery 4, we get a single target attack, lowering the enemy's speed by 20 to 35%. At Mastery 9, we get an ally boost, raising their attack by 20 to 35%. At 15, we get another ally boost, this time removing any status elements from your ally. Mastery 22, another single target attack, lowering their speed even more. Mastery 30, we get another stronger ally attack boost. And then at Mastery 40, again, we get another single target attack on the enemy team, this time lowering their attack by 40 to 55% instead of speed. Now, this is kind of dirty from Disgaea, I will be honest, because Priere is a really, really good unit in my opinion, especially just because, you know, her abilities and her skills. Like, she is a boss destroying unit. That is, I'm pretty sure, what she's meant to be, judging from her skills and judging from her abilities. She is looking really strong, and on top of that, her stats are also pretty good. I mean, 130 HP, 45 in attack, that's really good. I low-key, high-key want to put her in God tier, and I think I'm going to, but honestly, it's kind of dirty to do that. I think she's either an S or God tier. I think she's really good, especially just for what she's doing, being an insane damage dealer, boss killer. So I'm going to go ahead and leave her in here for now. And also, by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but I already put Alouette in the tier list. I put her in A tier. I'm going to go ahead and talk about that a bit later. But this is where I think she's going to go. She's also a pretty good unit, possibly high B tier, but I just went ahead and stuck her in A tier. Moving on here, we got Croix. I think I said Croix before when I said his name, but it is Croix, so we move. We have a humanoid gun pawn ally. His stats are not looking super bad. They're a little bit lower than Priere's in just these 3, HP, attack, and defense, but only by a little bit, and for the rest of his stats are actually a decent bit higher. We have 30 intelligence, 31 resistance, and 57 speed, and the speed particularly is a lot higher than Priere's speed. Moving on to his attributes, we have 50% towards Star. For his resistances, it's 75% towards Poison and Paralysis, and 25% towards Sleep and Forget. Moving on to his abilities, his leader skill, Time for Work, is attack and resistance plus 16% of party humanoid characters. At any +1, we get Hail of Bullets. All damage you do is plus 45%. At any +5, we get Gun Style. Crit rate, plus 8% of party gun equipped weapons, or characters, sorry. And then at any +7, we get Sniper, attack and defense minus 15% for all enemies. Now, again, I'll be honest, these are really good abilities, and pretty much same as Priere. The only one that's a little bit bad is the leader skill, and that's, again, just because it only affects humanoid characters in your party, not every character. But as for the rest of them, it's the same thing. Any +1 is insane because it's boosting all damage he does by 45%. His any +7 is also really good because it's just straight up lowering the attack and defense by 15% for all enemies. Like, honestly, he's got some really good abilities here. Moving on down to his skills, at level 1, we get Lethal Fury, which is going to be an AoE attack, and also giving himself an increased crit rate by 10%, and also lowering the barrier count on an enemy by 1, which, again, looks like it's going to be really good at defeating, you know, a boss or a raid. If they just have barrier counts, you can go ahead and pop this off, get yourself some increased crit rate, and also lower their barrier count, which is pretty good. At level 200, we get Innocent Ice, which is going to be similar to the first one, another AoE attack, and giving himself, and it looks like everyone on the team, a little bit of a buff. So this is, again, another repeat use prohibited, so you can only use this once, then you have to wait, then you can use it again. But it's an AoE attack. When striking a critical, gauge plus 750 for himself, and everyone else on the team is getting an increased crit damage by 25%. So again, pretty good, just kind of linking up with this one again, because if you get the increased crit rate, then you get a crit, you get yourself increased gauge on 750, which is the speed gauge at the bottom, and also everyone else on your party is just getting increased crit damage by 25%, which is pretty big. And then moving on to ND +3, we get Zero Range Buster. It's going to be a single target attack with a single target buff. When striking a critical, ignore 100% of the target's buff to calculate damage. So again, really good. If you know, your enemy, if it's a boss, let's say, has like plus 50% towards his defense, if you get a crit, that's going to ignore all of that defense and then just go straight in to do the damage, which again is really good. Also, I forgot to mention that the attributes for these attacks, for his level 1, it's going to be based off the fire, level 2, or level 200, I guess, it's based off water, and then again, NE +3 is going to be based off fire. And again, moving on to his magic spells, let's go ahead and bust through these. Mastery 4, we get Armor Break, single target attack, lowering the enemy's defense by 20 to 35%. At Mastery 9, Braveheart, ally boost, giving the allies an attack boost of 20 to 35%. Mastery 15, same thing, ally boost, giving them speed by 20 to 35%. Mastery 22, another single target attack, lowering the enemy's defense by 40 to 55%. Mastery 30, ally boost again, this time increasing the allies' attack by 40 to 50%, and at Mastery 40, we get another ally boost, giving them speed by 40 to 55%. I'm gonna be honest here, guys, I really like Croix too. I am not sure if it's on the same level as Priere. I think I'm probably either gonna put him S or high A, and the reason is, his skills are not super based off of damage, they're just based off of, you know, kind of critting and giving everyone on the party, like, increased crit rate and stuff. And actually, I didn't even mention what his crit rate or crit, you know, damage is. It looks like, yeah, it's kind of the same. It's still pretty bad. Now, I think I probably would put him closer to God tier if his crit rate was, like, something like 20, because then it would kind of make sense if he was giving himself, you know, an increased crit rate of 10, because then he would, like, crit way more often. But since it's 4, it's still really low. It's kind of just like a moot point, you know, because you still need to rely on actually hitting a crit for a lot of these skills to kind of proc, like especially this one, you know, the crit damage of 25% all allies. That's only if you strike a critical. So, I mean, not bad. Definitely not bad. I might even put him in A tier. Not sure. For now, I think I will put him in A tier. But again, not bad. Definitely a unit that is probably meant just for, you know, killing bosses or like a raid team or something like that. And moving on to our third and final character, we have Alouette. So Alouette is a humanoid staff bishop ally. Her stats aren't looking super high, but they're also not super low either, apart from her attack stat, which is really low, but that's only because her attacks are based off the intelligence and resistance stat, so you know what, that's fine. Her HP is not looking super high either, it's just kind of low to average, looking at 112. Similar to her defense, it's not super high, it's just kind of a little below average at 31, and her speed is actually, you know, right around average at 55. Moving on to her attributes, we have 50% towards fire, water, and wind. For her resistances, we have 50% towards poison and sleep, 25% towards paralysis, and 75% towards forget. For her abilities, at her leader skill, Scripture Studies, basic party parameters are up by 12%. At a +1, we get Saint's Guidance. At the beginning of the battle, your initial SP is plus 25. At a +5, we get Healing Miracle. At the end of the turn, basic parameters other than HP of the ally character with the lowest remaining HP will be plus 10% for 3 turns. And then at any +7, we get God's Blessing. Damage that the party deals to monster characters is plus 16%. So, really not bad abilities. They're nothing like insane like it was with Croix and Priere. They're all just kind of, you know, basic, given a bit, you know, given some basic parameters of the party increased, giving yourself some SP increase so you can get some of these skills done faster, then, you know, doing a little bit more damage to specifically monster characters, which isn't insane, but again, not bad, just kind of real basic abilities. Now, moving on to her skills, this is where I think Alouette really shines. At level 1, we get Flames of Judgment, which is an AoE attack and also an AoE debuff, lowering the enemy's resistance by 3%. At level 200, we get God's Miracle, which is another party buff, this time giving everyone an HP recovery, small amount of HP recovery, and also abnormal condition recovery, and defense plus 20%, which is really good. Normally you would see characters have like maybe one skill with HP recovery and then like maybe another skill with abnormal condition recovery, and maybe you would get them paired up with a defense boost, but this is doing all 3 in one, so that's really good. And then at any +3, we get Judgment of Gods, which is going to be a single target attack and also a single debuff, lowering the enemy's attack by 25% and speed by 10%. And moving on to her magic spells, at Mastery 4, we get just a single target ally lesser healing. At Mastery 9, we get a single target ally intelligence boost of 20 to 35%. Mastery 15, we get a whole party lesser healing. Mastery 22, we get another single ally intelligence boost of 40 to 55%. Mastery 30, we get another party lesser healing. And then at Mastery 40, we get a party medium healing. So, all in all, you can kind of clearly tell this character is from support just by how much, you know, HP recovery and abnormal condition recovery she's doing, but at the same time, she's also doing a few fair things to help out your team, like lowering the enemy's, or increasing the party's defense, lowering the enemy's like attack and speed, or also resistance. So honestly, I think she's pretty good. And on top of that, her intelligence is 40, so she's not going to be hitting super light. It's obviously not going to be anything hard like what Priere is doing, or like especially what like Meliodas is doing. But I do think she is definitely a very strong support, and especially if you can get her her magic spells down here. Like, it's going to be really hard to do this, and possibly pointless depending on how you look at it, but if you can get a full party medium healing, then that is going to be insane and definitely going to help your party a lot. So for that reason, that's why I put her in A tier. I think there is an argument to be made at S tier or B tier, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw her straight in the middle, put her at A tier, and call it a day. Now, moving on to the hard-hitting question, should you summon for this new collab? Now, it's kind of hard to say, especially because we just got done with our last collab, the ReZero collab, so a lot of people are going to be drained out of their gems, me included, because I summoned for Onirem. But personally, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to summon, especially if you could even get, you know, honestly, all three of these characters are probably going to help your team in some way, whether it be actual just boss damage or a little bit of support. They're all probably going to help, but it also boils down to what your kind of like raid team and what your boss team is looking like. Because if you have people like, what is this, Awakened not Velvatores, I forgot his name, but if you have like this guy who's an insane damage dealer as is, or even like this girl, or even like Meliodas, you're not super in need for a strong damage dealer, but at the same time, your team could always benefit from just having a dedicated, you know, boss or event killer. So it's kind of up to you. If you do lack like just a strong hard-hitting unit, especially for bosses, especially on those, you know, later story stages where you're kind of having trouble getting through that last final wave, then I would just like recommend, you know, definitely summon. But if not, you know, you could wait. I'm sure these characters are going to come back eventually. And at the same time, there's also a lot of other options if you are just looking for like a really strong damage dealer. Personally, I'm probably going to wait a little bit towards the end to decide if I'm going to summon or not. I do really like Priere, and I kind of do want to summon for her, but at the same time, I'm not super in need of a big boss killing character. So it just kind of depends from case to case. But with that being said, please like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you liked it. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of these characters. Do you think I did them justice by putting them in the tier list here? Let me know. Let me know if you're summoning, all that stuff. And like I said, that's going to be it. So like the video, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.